Tonight, Jyoti Mataji will be reciting in Sanskrit and Meenakshi Mataji will be reciting in English from Canto 3, Chapter 25, verses 1 to 15. So, Jyoti Mataji, whenever you're ready, can you please start with invocation? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 25, Canto 3, Chapter 25. The Glories of Devotional Service, Text 1. Sonaka Uvacha Kapilastatva-sankhya-ta Bhagavan Atma-mayaya Chataha Swayam Aja Saksad Atma Prajnapatirnam Nirnam.
Hare Krishna. Sri Shonaka said, although he is unborn, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took birth as Kapila Muni by his internal potency. He descended to disseminate transcendental knowledge for the benefit of the whole human race.
Text 2. Nahayasya varsmana pumsam varim na sarva yoginam Vishruta Shruta Devasya Bhuri Tirpyanti Me Savaha.
Shunaka continued, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable or more mature a yogi than he. He is therefore the master of the Vedas, and to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses.
Text 3. Yadyadvidate Bhagavan Svachandatmatma Mayaya Tani Me Shraddha Dhanasya Kirtanyay Anukirtiya.
Therefore, please precisely describe all the activities and pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is full of self desire and who assumes all these activities by his internal potency.
Text 4. Sutta Uvacha Dvaipayana Sakastav Evam Maitreyo Bhagavam Prahedam viduram prita anvikshikyam prachoditaha.
Sri Sutta Goswami said, the most powerful sage, Maitreya, was a friend of Vyasadeva. Being encouraged and pleased by Vidura's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows.
Text 5. Maitreya Uvacha Pitari prastisteranyam matu priya chikirsaya tasmin bindu sare vatsid Bhagavan Kapila Kila.
Maitreya said, when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovar to please his mother Devahuti.
Text 6. Tam asinam akarmanam tatva margagradarsanam swasutam devahuti aha dhatu samsmarati vachaha.
When Kapila, who could show her the ultimate goal of the absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her, Devahuti remembered the words Brahma had spoken to her, and she therefore began to question Kapila as follows.
Text 7. Devahuti ruvacha nirvinani taram bhuman asad indriya tarsanat yena sambhavyamanena prapanandham attamah prabho.
Devahuti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses, for because of these sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance.
Text 8. Tasya tvam tamasondasya dusparasya prarekam satchakshur janmanam ante labdham me tvad anugrahat.
Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental eye, which, by your mercy only, I have attained after many, many births.
Text 9. Ya adyo bhagavan pumsam isvaro vai bhavan khila lokasya tamasandasya chakshu surya ivoditaha.
You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin and supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of the ignorance of the universe.
Text 10. Atha me deva sammoham apakrastum tvam arhasi yovagraho mamma me titi etasmin yogitastvaya.
Now, be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion due to my feeling of false ego. I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body and consequently bodily relations.
Text 11. Tam tvagataham sharanam saranyam swabhartya samsarataro kutaram jignasayaham prakrite purusasya namami sadharmavidam varishtam.
Devahuti continued, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the trees of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as to the relationship between men and women and between spirit and matter.
Text 12. Maitreya Uvacha Iti svamatu niravadyam ipsitam nisamya pumsam apavargavartanam Dhiya binadhyatmavatam satam gatir babhasa isat smitaso pitananaha.
Maitreya said, after hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, the Lord thanked her within himself for her questions, and thus, his face smiling, he explained the path of the transcendentalists who are interested in self realization.
Text 13. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Yoga Adhyatmika Pumsam Mato Nishresyasayame Atyanto Paratir Yatra Dukhasya Cha Sukhasya Cha.
The personality of Godhead answered, the yoga system, which relates to the Lord and the individual soul, which is meant for the ultimate benefit of the living entity, and which causes detachment from all happiness and distress in the material world, is the highest yoga system.
Text 14. Tamimam te pravakshyami yam avot kam puranage rishanam shrotu kamanam yogam sarvanga naipunam.
O most pious Mother, I shall now explain unto you the ancient yoga system which I explained formerly to the great sages. It is serviceable and practical in every way.
Text 15. Cheta karvasya bandhaya muktaye chatmano matam guneshu saktam bandhaya ratam va pumsi muktaye.
The stage in which the consciousness of the living entity is attracted by the three modes of material nature is called conditional life. But when that same consciousness is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is situated in the consciousness of liberation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji and Meenakshi Mataji, for the very nice recitation. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you so much for beautiful Sanskrit recitation and translation. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Mataji, we can. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Just checking. Okay, so we are doing chapter 25 of third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are doing verses 7, 8, and 9. And this particular chapter is talking about glories of devotional service, where Kapil Muni has actually started talking to his mother in this material world, which is Devahuti, and very, very fortunate soul also to have given birth to, to become the daughter of Kapil Muni. So let's see when they both interact, and when she sees Kapil Muni in front of her, and she realizes that the prediction done by Brahma and the instructions given by Brahma are actually coming true. She actually started inquiring Kapil Muni about the questions of life and devotional service and how to make her life successful. So let's look into the recitation, and let's look into the conversation between both of them. Let me share my screen. So I hope you can see. Okay, before we start, let's do some invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Shrunavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridanta Sthoya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhratsatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir-bhavati Naishtiki. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatam Maham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So let's look into the glories of devotional service, which is the crux of our movement of bhakti also, the glories of devotional service, and the crux of Bhagavad Gita also, and Bhagavatam, all the Vedas and Puranas. So we can see here a conversation between Shaunaka Rishi and Suta Goswami is going on. And Suta Goswami is who? He is the son of Shukadeva Goswami. So the Shaunaka Rishi is asking Suta Goswami and having this conversation here and this is how the Bhagavatam is also explained. He's saying that although he's unborn, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took birth as Kapil Muni by his internal potency. He descended to disseminate transcendental knowledge for the benefit of the whole human race. And then he goes on to there's a conversation going on, And I will read the verses 7, 8, 9. But before we go, I wanted to recap what we already have, heard. So Shonak Muni and Shonak Rishi says, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable and mature and as a yogi than he is. He is therefore the master of the Vedas, and to hear from him is always actual pleasure of the senses. Therefore, please precisely describe all activities and pastimes of personality of Godhead, who is full of self-desire and who assumes all these activities by his internal potency. So he's asking, inquiring about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is glorifying him that he's the master of all senses, he's the master of all the yogas, he's the topmost yogi, and glorifying the Lord, and then asking. This is how we ask questions also about the Lord. This is the right approach. And he then goes on to say, the most powerful sage Maitreya, the most powerful sage Maitreya will also, when you would have heard about this particular text, you would actually read Prabhupada has glorified Maitreya, sage Maitreya, and said that he was actually, we don't use the word Bhagavan for anyone. We just use this word Bhagavan for Krishna because he has all the opulences. But for Maitreya, the word Bhagavan is used for Maitreya also. We'll read in the purport. Why? Because he was very, he was as good as Krishna. He was as good as spiritually transcendental and spiritually realized, very very spiritually realized personality. And addressing him, they used to say Bhagavan Maitreya because of his position, his spiritual position. Remember, when we associate with Krishna, when we associate with Lord, we get some of the qualities. So Maitreya had that position, very very high position, that he was this name Bhagavan. Here see, Maitreya is addressed as Bhagavan because he's spiritually far advanced. He was personal friend of Vyasadeva, another reason. And Vyasadeva is who? Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnation only. So that interesting point here. Being encouraged and pleased by Vaidura's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows. So Maitreya is speaking these words actually. Maitreya said, when Kardama left for the forest, who's Kardama? Kardama is actually a son of Brahma only, and Brahma has instructed Kardama Muni to populate the universe and spread population, create mankind, create human beings. So for this purpose and for fulfilling this desire and for this instruction of the father and his spiritual master, he had to actually, for creation, he had to pray and do austerities and penances for so many years, 10,000 years of that time. And then Lord appeared in front of him, and he told him that I will come as your son. But obviously he had to get married. He had to get married to someone, to a suitable devotional and suitable wife who would who will be so fortunate to have a Supreme Personality of Godhead as her child. So Kardama Muni married Swambhuva's Manu's daughter, whose name was Devahuti. So then they obviously they involved in, they got into the materialistic activities. They he was fulfilling his duties as a husband, and he was trying to make her happy because she was a very dedicated wife. And then finally, in the end of the they had like 9 daughters. Then Kapil Muni also appeared in the end, 10th, because she was asking that I don't have a son, how will I look after myself when you leave for sannyasa and when you leave me? So then finally, when the son came, the Kapil Muni came, Kardama Muni knew that now his role is finished. Now he has to go back into the forest and he has to renounce everything, and he has to dedicate himself again in Supreme Personality of Godhead and leave his body. So Kardama Muni left for the forest, and Lord Kapil stayed because now Kapil Muni has appeared, and he stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovar. So this is the place where when Kardama Muni saw Lord Vishnu for the first time, Lord Vishnu had actually tears in his eyes, because looking at the austerities and looking at the devotional service of Kardama, he had those tears, and that from those tears Bindu Sarovas was formed. So this is the place where Kapil Lord again came as Kapil, and this is a very holy place, very spiritual and holy place, pilgrimage, where he appeared again to please his mother, and all the instructions that he's given to Devahuti to fulfill her desire to become self-realized and to know God is given in Bindu Sarovar. And fifth verse, and then sixth verse, when Kapil, who could show her ultimate goal of absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her, Devahuti remembered the words Brahma had spoken to her, and she therefore began to question Kapil as follows. Now, this is the recap of what has happened till now. Now she is asking the questions when finally she is seeing Lord Supreme Personality of Godhead in form of her son in front of her. Now she is inquiring about devotional service, inquiring about the purpose of life and Shankya philosophy, and that allows Kapil Muni to enlighten us up with Shankya philosophy. So let's see text 7, what it says. देवहूतिरुवाच निर्विन्नानितरां भूमनन् असद् इन्द्रियतर्शनात् येन सम्भाव्यमानेन प्रपन्नाधं तमप्रभो देवहूतिरुवाच निर्विन्नानितरां भूमनन् असद् इन्द्रियतर्शनात् येन सम्भाव्यमानेन Prapannadham Tama Prabho. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Devahuti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by the material senses, for because of this sense disturbance, my lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Purport. Here the word Asad Indriya Darshanad is significant. Asad means impermanent, temporary, and Indriya means senses. Thus, Asad Indriya Darshanad means from being agitated by the temporary manifest senses of the material body, we are evolving through different statuses of material bodily existence, sometimes in a human body, sometimes in an animal body. And therefore, the engagements of our material senses are also changing. Anything which changes is called temporary or asat. We should know that beyond these temporary senses are our permanent senses, which are now covered by material body. The temporary senses being contaminated by matter are not acting properly. Devotional service therefore involves freeing the senses from this contamination. When the contamination is completely removed and the senses act in the purity of unalloyed Krishna consciousness, we have reached Sad Indriya or eternal sensory activities. Eternal sensory activities are called devotional service, whereas temporary sensory activities are called sense gratification. Unless one becomes tired of material sense gratification, there is no opportunity to hear transcendental messages from a person like Kapila. Devahuti expressed that she was tired. Now that her husband has left home, she wanted to get relief by hearing the instructions of Lord Kapila. Text 8. Tasya tvam tamaso dasya dusparayadaya paragam सच्चक्षुर्जन्मनामन्ते लब्धं मे त्व अनुग्रहात् तस्य त्वं तस्मोदस्य दुष्पारयदस्य पागरं सच्चक्षुर्जन्मनामन्ते लब्धं मे त्वद् अनुग्रहात्. Your lordships is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental eye, which by your mercy only I have attained after many births. Purport. In this verse is very instructive, since it indicates the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple. The disciple or conditioned soul is put into this darkest region of ignorance and therefore is entangled in the material existence of sense gratification. It is very difficult to get out of this entanglement and attain freedom. But if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a spiritual master like Kapil Muni or his representative, then by his grace one can be delivered from the mire of ignorance. The spiritual master is therefore worshipped as one who delivers the disciple from the mire of ignorance with the light of the torch of knowledge. The word paragam is very significant. Paragam refers to one who can take the disciple to the other side. This side is conditioned life, and the other side is the life of freedom. The spiritual master takes the disciple to the other side by opening his eyes with knowledge. We are suffering simply because of ignorance. By the instruction of spiritual master, the darkness of ignorance is removed, and thus the disciple is enabled to go to the side of freedom. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that after many, many births, one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, if after many, many births, one is abide to find a bona fide spiritual master and surrender to a bona fide representative of Krishna, one can take to the side of light. Text 9. य आद्यो भगवान् पुंसाम् ईश्वरो वै भगवान् किल लोकस्य तं साधस्य चक्षुसूर्य इवोदितः. Translation. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin, the Supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of ignorance of the universe. Purport. Kapil Muni is accepted as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Here the word Adyaha means the origin of all living entities. Pumsam Ishvaraha means the Lord, Ishwar, of living entities. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna. Kapil Muni is the direct expansion of Krishna, who is son of spiritual knowledge. As the sun dissipates the darkness of the universe, so when the light of Supreme Personality of Godhead comes down, it at once dissipates the darkness of Maya. We have our eyes, but without the light of sun, our eyes are of no value. Similarly, without the light of the Supreme Lord, or without the divine grace of spiritual master, one cannot see things as they are. Hare Krishna. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते. तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी भानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So, yes, these three texts will actually tell us about three important topics today. So the first one, very first thing, when devotee is saying, I'm very sick of the disturbance caused by the material senses, for because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Can you see something that she's mentioned, two main things that she's mentioning here that you will realize? Anyone would like to comment that you can see that devotee is actually stressing into 2 points, important things that we have to relate with our lives? Anyone from the chat? So I'll say. So the first thing is that the Prabhupada also mentioned in the purport. She's saying, I'm very sick of the disturbance caused by the material senses. So first thing is, I'm very sick. So what does this mean? Why are we actually taking birth again and again and again? Because we don't get sick, because we want to enjoy. We want to come back. Sometimes there are people who actually gather so much, they start doing pious activities because they think, they've heard people saying that, let me collect so much, let me do more and more and more pious activities so that in next life I can get better. Okay, I'm not getting better in this life. Don't worry, in next life, because we know about karma, We think that in next life I'll get better. Let me accumulate for the next life, do something for the next life. So we are not sick actually, because we think we still want to come back, we still want to enjoy, we still think about the next life. But actually we don't feel sick. The moment we feel sick, the moment we feel tired, that this I don't want to come back, I don't want to be sick again, I don't want to start the same cycle again. That is our realization. That means now we have actually understood that what is the purpose of life. And Prabhupada says here in the end also, unless one becomes tired of material sense gratification, tired, I've had too much, but it's not giving me the real happiness. Unless one has come to that platform, there is no opportunity to hear transcendental message from the person like Kapila. Unless we have realized what is the purpose of life and why are we just wasting our time in material sense gratification, we are not going to receive the mercy of the Lord, because our heart hasn't actually purified. We haven't actually asked Lord to come and help us. So how can he help us then? We have to call out for him. Devoti expressed that she was tired. So Devoti, why is Prabhupada saying she's tired? Because she has had everything. She served her husband. She performed her duties very nicely. She was a good daughter. She had 9 daughters also herself. And they were also married to very good, great sages. And she fulfilled all her duties nicely, like, in kind of, she was involved into materialistic life. Then she went around with her husband and enjoyed lots of materialistic things also, like all pleasures of life. She had everything. But later on, after all these years, she realized that my husband is now going to take sannyasa. He's going to realize God. He's going to back to Godhead. But what about me? Well, I wasted my time. I didn't take his association seriously, and I've had everything. Now I don't want anything. So I just want to know about the Lord. I just want to know about bhakti, devotional service, and what is the secret about it. So that she was tired. She saw everything, but she realized that none of those things are going to make her happy. None of those things are the purpose of life, and they are of no use in the end of life. So that's why she inquired. She was realized at that time. And because she inquired, and Lord is there, he appeared. Now that her husband had left home, she wanted to get relief by hearing the instructions of Lord Kapila. So we have to ask ourselves, do we want to wait until, until our life passes by and we've done everything, we've enjoyed completely, and end of the life we start asking that now I want to hear about Lord? This should not be ideally. This is not encouraged in bhakti. It is encouraged that whenever you get to know, whenever we get a chance, whenever someone introduces us to bhakti, doesn't matter what time is it, what age is it, we should just take it seriously, and we should see from the examples of Bhagavatam, see from the examples of Bhagavad Gita, see from the examples of these scriptures, that how quickly, when they realize that this is the purpose of life, they just left and they just started inquiring about the Lord, because we know that time is just passing by like anything. Parikshit Maharaj just had 7 days. He knew about his lifespan, like he just 7 days left. So he quickly used that time. But we might even not know that if we have 7 days or not. So we should actually take to the devotion service very seriously, and should not become lapse, and should not become lenient on ourselves, that okay, it's fine, and right now I'm doing this much, and sometimes I get distracted, that's fine. We shouldn't be hard on ourselves and all that. So sometimes we just become very lenient also. But we should remember that how important it is for us to remember Lord all the time, discuss about him, so that in the end of the life we don't have to actually beg, and we might not be in the situation to remember him. But if we are remembering him throughout the life, then Lord will actually help us, and we will be able to remember him. So here Devoti is fortunate that she got Lord himself instructing her directly. Very fortunate, because she served her husband, who was a great devotee, with all her all dedication, and that's why she was then hearing from the Lord, and Lord was pleased. So that's one thing. The other thing is that material senses, what is causing this sickness and this disturbance is caused by material senses. So this is another, because these senses, because for be- because of this sense disturbance, my lord, I have fallen into ignorance. So she knows the reason of her fall down, and this is this is the reason why we all also start doing sinful activities, because the senses will be guided by the senses. The senses will tell us, let's do this, let's do that. It's okay. It's only 5 minutes. It's okay. It's only 10 minutes. It's okay. I'm only doing it for the first time, or this is the last time. But then the senses are very tricky. Maya is very tricky. It tricks us, it gives us a little taster, and then we want to have more and more and more. And we don't realize that when we become addicted to something. So material senses are not of any, we can't trust them. They're like loose serpents. When we leave the serpents loose and they run here and there, and it's hard to control and bring them back. So in the same way, the senses are like that. It's not easy for them, for us to catch them, unless we engage them in the right engagement. So here in Bhagavad Gita 13.67, anyone knows that what are the what are our, how many senses we have? Because Kapil Muni is going to instruct us about all these things: material nature, three modes of material nature, and how do they interact, and what are the elements of this body, what is this body made of, and what are the senses made of. Anyone knows about how many senses we have? What type of senses and how many senses are there? We've all heard in our schools and colleges, that's different. In our schools, that's limited knowledge. But actually, what Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam says about senses. Anyone in the call? How many are there? 14 devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Is that eyes,
Mm-hmm.
nose,
Who's
taste,
this? Mataji, what's your name?
Kanta.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Eyes, nose,
Yes,
taste, touch.
yes, yes.
The five senses. Then ignorance, then ego, mind, and intelligence.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. At least you quoted something from Bhagavad Gita, which is very nice. You remember, but let's see in detail. Like we have verses, we have everything is there in the scriptures. If we go back, we'll find out the answers. So there are 5 Gyanendriyas and 5 Karmendriyas and 1 mind. Mind is also sense. So 11 senses actually. How? 5 great elements. Like 5 Gyanendriyas means knowledge acquiring senses. By these 5 knowledge acquiring senses, we get to know about the environment around us, like seeing, smelling, and all, touching, all that. And 5 5 karmendriyas means they're active senses. They working senses and work. So those are 5 karmendriyas, and 5 gyanendriyas, and mind is the highest of all. So these here in 13.6 to 7, it says the 5 great elements: false ego, intelligence, unmanifested, the 10 senses, the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, and aggregate, the life symptoms, and conviction. All these are considered as, in summary, to be the field of activities and its interaction. So this is a very this is an explanation of how how the field of activities, and what is field of activities, and what is kshetra, these material elements, how they are made of. And here we can see this is more or less Shankhya philosophy. This is actually what Shankhya philosophy is like. How do they interact, field and fielder, and who is the in charge of the field, who is the field, and what are these activities of the field, and how do they interact. It's quite difficult when we hear it. It feels like this is a theory or some physics going on here, but this philosophy is like that. It's very deep. So more Shankhya philosophy, which is also known as analysis of material elements, like I said, how these material elements interact with each other. We are embodied in material elements. Krishna is elements. Yeah, Krishna is questioned by Arjuna, what is this body and who is the owner of this body and what is knowledge? So actually Arjuna already asked these questions from Krishna, that what is the body, who is the owner of the body? So field, owner of the body is the in charge of the field, and what is knowledge? So Krishna answered, the soul is the owner of the body. Soul is inside the body, is the owner of the body, and I am also the owner of this body. So this is how he's given the answer. So we know about soul and we know about super soul. That's what Krishna is saying indirectly, that there is a soul within everyone, and then there's a super soul also witnessing the activities of the soul. So these two are the owners actually of the body. And what is real knowledge? What knowledge he's talking about here? The knowledge of body and soul is real knowledge, not the knowledge that we think knowledge is, but real knowledge. Real knowledge, if we really want to see that how knowledgeable or how realized a person is, it's not through the degrees, through their intelligence, through how quickly they answer. No, that the real knowledge of a person is the knowledge about his life, knowledge about his soul, and knowledge about the body. And that knowledge we only get through instructions of Krishna, through Bhagavad Gita, through Kapil Dev's Sankhya philosophies. So that is see the owner of the individual soul and the super soul. This is what I also talked about, like these are the owners of the body. Yeah. So if we go back, this is what Sankhya philosophy one is about. And it is said that what is sat and asat? So anything which changes is called temporary or asat, because it's not true. So satya, we say no, satya. So satya means truth, and asatya means false, which is not true. So anything that changes is and temporary is asat. And we say Lord's body is what? We also say something about to glorify Lord. We say Lord is Satchit Ananda, which means he is real. He doesn't change. His body doesn't change. It's transcendental body. So Sat, we use that name for him. And when we get actually how we can purify the senses, because all these problems that I told you about, like 5 Gyanendriya, Karmendriya, 1 mind, all these senses are actually material senses, and these material senses are there for us to work and interact with the material modes of nature and material elements, so that we can realize God. So I have this body, I'm using my mouth, I'm using my tongue, I'm using my touch, I'm using all these senses, I should use them to acquire knowledge about the Lord. And we can do that. We can use, there are great examples in Bhagavatam where the devotees have used their senses in acquiring knowledge about the Lord in different ways. Like we can say using your tongue in talking about Krishna, eating prasadam. You can clean the temple that ways. You can use your hands. We can remember about God. There's so many things. We do kirtan, just including involving our senses in some kind of engagement which is related to the Lord, to the supreme whole. Then they will get satisfied. Otherwise, what Prabhupada says, that otherwise using the sense for temporary things, temporary sensory activities is sense gratification, but using that for devotional service, using that for eternal sensory activities, then we are doing actually devotional service. That is devotional service. Then we are not doing sense gratification. And how to free ourselves from from these material problems and created cause due to these senses, is devotional service. So only devotional service can actually free our senses from this contamination. And it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually said, let me show you, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Cheto Darpana Marjanam means here, let's see, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Lord Chaitanya has given us a special gift. In spite of our not understanding everything very analytically, we might not be able to understand Sankhya philosophy, because it is about devotional service, but we may not be able to understand the kshetra, who's the owner of kshetra, what is field, what are the field activities, what is material nature, what are the elements, how they interact. We may not analytically understand that, But Mahaprabhu in this Kali Yuga especially has actually, Mahaprabhu only comes once in Brahma's day, and Brahma's day is very long. It is around, I think, 1,000 cycles of Kali Yuga is Brahma's one day, which is one kalpa, which is a very long process. Imagine 1,000 cycles of Kali Yuga, Yuga, is one kalpa. So that is Brahma's one day, and in one day Lord Chaitanya comes. So he gave a special gift that we don't have to actually understand analytically how the material world interacts, but he's just given us very simple process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. That is a special gift of Lord Chaitanya, and we are fortunate enough that in this Kali Yuga he came. He also said that to purify the senses and to purify our Chetodarpana Marjanam, which means to purify the mirror of this dust which is accumulated in our mind, the mirror of our mind, to cleanse that mind, the dust that is in our mind, mirror of our mind, we can chant Hare Krishna mantra, and then automatically everything will be revealed unto us. Automatically the dust in this mirror of our mind will actually be cleaned if we chant Hare Krishna mantra. And very, very simple process. See, here he says Cheto Darpana Marjanam, CC Antelila 20.12. Let there be victory of chanting the holy names of Lord Krishna, which can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of blazing fire of material existence. That chanting is the waxing moon that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. It is the life and soul of all education. The chanting of holy name of Krishna expands the blissful ocean of transcendental life. It gives us a cooling effect to everyone and enables one to taste full nectar at every step. So I know that this is in Bhagavatam, this particular chapter is not saying about that particular thing, but our goal is to understand that that the chanting of the holy name is the only way to purify our senses and to perform devotional service, to make it very easy in this age. Then in 8th verse, Devuti is saying, "Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance." She knows where she is. She knows about the nature of material world, and she is saying that only you and your names and only you can deliver me from this ignorance. And you are my transcendental eye, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. So this verse is actually more about taking shelter of a spiritual master, how important it is to be humble and submissive towards our spiritual master, and to inquire from them, because without spiritual master we cannot actually understand, we cannot come out of the ignorance. Does anyone remember any prayer that we do every day to glorify the spiritual master in ISKCON? What is the prayer that we do for spiritual master?
Hare Krishna Mataji, is the Mangalarti?
Yes, Mataji. Who said that?
Skanta.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Yes, when we read this verse, we can see, this is something related to Samsara Davanala here,
Yes.
isn't it? So here, who wrote this? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He has actually given us this. He says that one who with great care and attention loudly recites this beautiful prayer to the spiritual master during the Brahma Muhurat obtains the direct service to Krishna, the Lord of Vrindavan, at the time of death. Beautiful. So imagine every morning in Brahma Muhurat, if you recite this prayer, Shri Guru Ashtaka, 8 prayers to Guru, he says that you will get eternal direct service to Krishna, the Lord of Vrindavan, at the time of death. But we have to see how much we are doing it, because only spiritual master can take us, can give, purify our senses and can remove this ignorance and take us out of this darkest blazing fire of forest and deliver us. So we can see all the verses in this prayer, the 8 verses are about glories of spiritual master, how he can only give us Krishna. The spiritual master is receiving the benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as the cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it. Spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is the ocean of auspicious qualities. So, yeah, after reading this, we may get a little bit enlightened to actually recite these prayers loudly, and pray to the spiritual master in the morning so that they can deliver us and they can take us closer to Krishna. So here, this verse is also all about spiritual master and how Devahuti actually surrendered. It is very difficult to get out of this entanglement and attain freedom, but if one is fortunate enough to get association of a spiritual master like Kapil Muni, Devahuti was fortunate. She got two spiritual masters. She got Kardama Muni as her spiritual master. She was serving her. And then she got Kapil Muni as her spiritual master. Now he's instructing her about devotional service. So if you're fortunate enough to get association of such a spiritual master, or his representative, then by his grace, one can be delivered from the mire of ignorance. See, just by a spiritual master's mercy, we can get the knowledge and we should worship him. He is as good as God. So he's actually in the prayer of Mangal Arati also we say these lines, right? The spiritual master is therefore worshipped as one who delivers the disciple from the mire of ignorance with the light of the torch of knowledge. Only he can give us knowledge. We can read scriptures, we can do everything, but he is the one who reveals that knowledge to us. Otherwise, that knowledge will not be revealed to us. It may not transform us, but spiritual master can actually, he is the key. The word paragam is very significant. Paragam refers to one who can take the disciple to the other side. Paragam, he from the ignorance to the other side, from darkness to light. This side is conditioned life and other is freedom. The spiritual master takes the disciple to the other side by opening his eyes with knowledge. That's why we always remember spiritual master before reading any scripture also, because he only can make us understand the purports. He only can reveal those purports in our heart. Yeah. The instruction of the spiritual master, with the instruction of spiritual master, the darkness of ignorance is removed, and thus disciple is enabled to go to the side of freedom. So after many births, if one is able to find a bona fide spiritual master and surrender to such a bona fide spiritual representation of Krishna, one can be taken to the other side of the light. So Prabhupada is clearly saying that many births. And which verse of Bhagavad Gita says some is relating to this? Anyone knows the verse of Bhagavad Gita which says that after many births one gets to know about Krishna? And spiritual master gets spiritual master after many births, after wandering into so many species of animals, plants and whatnot. We get this human body, and after getting human body also we don't realize this, and we take births again and again. And after enjoying, like Devuti is saying in seventh verse, that that after many births I realize this, and I now I want to surrender. I want to know about this knowledge. I wasted my time. So what is the verse in Bhagavad Gita that says about this? Anyone remembers? So the verse is here, 7.19. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavamam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. 7.19, it says, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the causes of all causes, and all that is such a great soul is very rare. So Krishna himself is saying, Bahunam janmanamante, many births, Jnanavam mam prapadyate. He realizes this knowledge that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that's Vasudeva, Krishna, himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we should surrender unto him. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a soul is very rare. Very rarely some persons will come. So if we have realized in this life that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, we should take to spiritual master, and we should join ourselves in that parampara. Actually, if we know Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the spiritual master of Prabhupada, he was very worried about Sahajiyas. Because Sahajiyas are those who will say that we are devotees, like we are worshipping Krishna, we have a direct relationship with Krishna, we'll not have a guru, we'll just do according to our own plan. Whenever we can worship, we'll worship, and Krishna is in our hearts, and we don't need to do any deity worship, or don't need to follow any kind of parampara, or read books or anything. Just do according to your own mood. That is Sahaji attitude, because that will make the standards of bhakti very low, and Krishna cannot be approached like that directly, without doing any austerities, without following a guru, without following a parampara. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very he wanted this parampara to continue, and he used to work for this, that we have to make people, if we have to spread these scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all the scriptures, nectar of devotion, all the scriptures should be spread to people, so that they know that how important it is to follow the parampara system. Otherwise Sahajiyas will come and they will rule the Vrindavan, they will rule all these holy places, and everything will be spoiled, and we'll never realize God. Because in order to realize God, we need to follow the parampara, discipline succession, and connect to Krishna through that parampara. So whenever after many births we find about Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, please pray to Lord Nityananda, pray to Lord Mahaprabhu, to get to Radharani, that we can connect to a bona fide spiritual master, and thus connect ourselves to Krishna. And in the last verse, and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin and supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of the ignorance of the universe. So we know that whenever there is sun, there is no darkness, right? When the sun comes up on the sky, the clouds go away. Like we will see, we will feel satisfied. Okay, sun is here now. We have sun rays are everywhere. There's no darkness. In the same way, wherever there is Krishna, there is no darkness. There is no ignorance. There is only light. And because Krishna is, he's like a sun. He's spreading all those rays of knowledge and goodness all around. So Kapil Muni is accepted as an incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Here the word Adhya means origin of all living entities, and Pumsam Ishvara means Lord Ishvara of the living entities. So Kapil Muni is a direct expansion of Krishna, who is the sun of spiritual knowledge. So he is giving the rays of spiritual knowledge. As the sun dissipates the darkness of the universe, when the light of Supreme Personality of Godhead comes, it dissipates the darkness of Maya. So there is no Maya. Prabhupada says so many times this thing, that where there is Krishna, there is no Maya. So that's why add Krishna to everything that you do. There'll be no Maya. Add Krishna, use your money in right cause, then there'll be no Maya. Then you'll not get entangled in that money and karma. All those things. So we have our eyes, but with the light of the sun, our eyes are off. No, without the light of sun, our eyes have no value. So we have our eyes, but if there is no sun, I won't be able to see. If I turn off the light in my room, I won't be able to see anything. So Krishna is allowing that. Krishna is the light, which is allowing my eyes to actually see. In the same way, Supreme Personality of Godhead and spiritual master is like that light and like that sun, who will actually give us this vision, spiritual vision, and then the real senses in verse 7. Prabhupada says in the purport that the real spiritual senses are actually hidden, and they can only be seen when we are perform devotional service, and when we surrender to a guru. He will give us that power, and he will give us that strength, and he will make us realize what our spiritual senses are and what is real world, and he will make us see things as they are. Otherwise we can't see the things as they are. We'll only see material things, material families, illusioned eyes will be illusioned and clouded, and we will always be in Maya, an illusion. So only spiritual master and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra can actually gradually make us reveal, it will reveal the spiritual knowledge, and the spiritual senses will get purified, and the material senses will become less active. So this is the only way. So with that, these were the main points from today's verses that Devhuti is actually, right now Devhuti is just asking Kapil Muni that this is what I feel, and then Kapil Muni will start saying, and he will start enlightening her by this Shankya philosophy. Hare Krishna. With that, if everyone anyone has any question or any thoughts, any realization, or they've read this chapter before, they want to share something, please do. Hare Krishna. Okay. Okay. If there's no questions, let me see. Yes. All glories to our beloved bona fide spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Yes. So from today, few things that that stood out to me was also how important it is to do our Mangal Aarti, because Mangal Aarti is all about the mercy of spiritual master, and Prabhupada has established Mangal Aarti for some reason, so that we stay connected to Guru. We don't become sahajiyas. We don't start doing things on our own and according to our own mind and plans and spoil everything, the Vedic culture and the process of going back to Godhead. We will be bereft of that otherwise. So Mangal Aarti reminds us that we have to, whatever knowledge and whatever devotional service we are doing, it's because of the Guru, because of the Guru Parampara. And especially if we do Mangal Aarti in the Brahma Muhurat, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Krishna will actually, at the time of death, he will get the direct association of Krishna in Vrindavan. So if you haven't done, or you haven't started, or you haven't tried, I would say try. Even if you can't wake up early, do Mangal Aarti anyway in the morning and remember spiritual master. Even if you don't have spiritual master, Prabhupada is your spiritual master. Krishna is seated within our heart as a Chaitya Guru. Do it for him. And then when the right time comes, when we are surrendered, Krishna will send, Nityananda Prabhu will send a spiritual master also. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yeah, that's what I do, but I can't do it early, but I do it in the morning every day. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji. It really makes our day. It really gives us blessings. Like when we read scriptures, we do invocation prayers. We remember the Guru. So in the same way, when we start our day, if we can remember Guru, then he will,
very important.
Very important.
Prabhupada is my spiritual master. It's very, very important.
Yes, yes. The whole day will be blessed, and we will get realization. We'll get knowledge. We'll be saved. We'll be saved.
Yes, exactly. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Any other questions, realizations, thoughts? If not, then we will end today's session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your association, and please forgive me for any mistakes and offenses. Thank you. Hari Bol. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Hari
Bol. Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji for the nice class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.